Okay, I would like to start by calling the meeting to order. Before we begin, I want to briefly state the purpose of our committee. We are an advising committee. We are here to discuss pertinent topics of our school and at times make recommendations regarding procedure and or policy to the administration and or the Board of Education. This is a voluntary committee, and I publicly want to thank all of you for your service again, and I will now call the meeting to order. We're going to begin with the roll call, and like we did last time, we'll start by going around the room, saying our name and our role in the school. I am Will Dwyer. I'm the principal here at West Chicago High School.
Veronica Jimenez-Winton. I'm the director of the Dean's Office and the director of bilingual education.
Kurt Johansson. I'm the incoming superintendent.
Kelly Ashline, parent.
Jaden Weska, and I'm a senior in the school.
Patty Weber, parent.
Jack Walsh, senior.
Gia Rocher, student.
Sebastian Alvarez, student.
Liliana Arreola, parent.
Brittany Nelson, I teach Spanish and ESL.
Megan Dusing, parent.
Christina Sladek, I teach science. Penny Munoz, board member.
Janet Hurtado, dean.
Samantha Ramos, student.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. This is the portion of the meeting where members of the public can address the committee on any topic. Comments are limited to no more than 5 minutes, with a total time limit of no more than 30 minutes for this portion of the meeting. Due to legislation, we will not engage in dialogue with anyone making public comments at this time. We will listen, and where appropriate, the administration will follow up. Comments can be made in person or submitted electronically. I see no audience, and I have no electronic comment cards, so we'll move on. Our first order of business, as you guys remember, you have in your packet a copy of the October 18th minutes from the last time that we met. So like we did last time, let's just take a few minutes, review through it. If you see any typographical or name errors, let me know. One good thing I do want to remind you, these minutes are important, but the entire video is also on our website. So anything can go back and be reviewed there as well. No rush, but if anybody, whenever anyone has finished it, if you were here at the last meeting, anyone is free to make a motion as well as second the motion, and then we would take a voice vote to approve the minutes or not. Yes, ma'am. Oh, thank you. I will add that in. Thank you very much.
Motion to approve.
A motion from Ms. Ashline. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Sladek. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, minutes approved. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. With the addition of Ms. Weber into the role too as well. Thank you so much. Okay, at this time, I want to turn it over to the head of our dean's office, as well as one of our deans, Mr. Hurtado, to continue the ongoing discussion that we have been having about attendance here at West Chicago High School. I'll be your clicker if you like. I'll just advance
Yeah,
this
that's
for
great.
you.
Thank you. Okay, so obviously attendance has been a hot topic since COVID. It's something that we've been monitoring very closely in the dean's office and as a district in general. So I'm going to go ahead and share some updates with you. This was taken from our school report card. It had come out just after we met last time, so this is something you were not able to see last time we met, and it's based on last school year's data. So currently, 27% of our student body is considered chronic absent, and that means that a student has missed 10% of the school year, which comes out to more or less, what is it, 17, 18 days. I thought it would be good to look at some schools that have similar demographics to us, just so we could compare and see where we fall. We've also included some districts that are close by that have different demographics also for us to compare. So this is from Elgin High School. Their chronic absenteeism is 56% of their student body, so over half of their student body is missing, had missed 10% of their school year. This is East Leiden, 33%. We can go through this kind of quickly. West Leiden, 32%. Benton High School, which is very similar to our student body, 44%. Wheaton Warrenville South, while it's pretty close to us, their demographics are different than ours, so they are at 23%. Glenbard East, similar to us, 32%. Geneva High School, again, pretty close by, but different demographic, and their chronic absenteeism is at 20%, which is better than ours. And then if you can't remember all those numbers in your head, we have them all on one slide here for you. So when we look at districts that have a similar demographic to us, we're doing pretty good compared to that. Obviously, two of these schools, Geneva and Wheaton South, is doing better than we are, but their student body is a little different than ours. So that's good to see. These next couple of slides are specific to our school, and it's breaking down the current data. So what I shared with you was last school year's data, and this is where we are right now. So from August of this school year until now, this is what our daily attendance rates are for each month. So we started off pretty strong, and it slowly trickled down. And then this is compared to last school year. You can see the lighter line is last school year. Our attendance rates overall have gone down this school year. Not significantly, but it's definitely something for us to take a look at and evaluate what happened or what's going on. This breaks down just this current semester. So from January when we returned, in January, a lot of families were still out of town, so that's why our percentage was pretty low. Right around week 3, so the middle of January, it seemed like the majority of our students had returned. We had a dip in the beginning of February. This compares it to last school year. So the trend is very similar from year to year. It's the percentage that is lower this school year again. So that was interesting to see that trends are very similar month to month each school year, but it is lower this school year overall. So that being said, the administrative team has been talking about attendance quite a bit. Dr. Dwyer shared with the admin team an article that came out in the New York Times, and we also listened to a podcast that discussed and did some extensive research across the nation, specifically around attendance. So I wanted to share a little bit about what that report found. And maybe we could send this to you after today's meeting if anyone wants to deep dive into these articles. And there was a podcast that was short. So overall, 26% of public school students nationwide are considered chronically absent. So we're right in line with what's like the national average. And that is up 15% from before COVID ever hit. The numbers, the percentage jump is big no matter what the demographics are. But one thing to consider is students who are receiving free or reduced lunch, their chronic absenteeism rates were already high to begin with, and now they're even higher. So even though it's the same percentage-wise as, say, like a wealthier community, it's still concerning because the number is so high of students that need a lot of resources. It seems like it's something very fundamental that has shifted in how families view the importance of attending school. And it's scary to think, like, is this just going to be the new normal? I guess time will tell, but it's certainly our normal right now. One thing, too, that they talked about is the students that are attending regularly, when they notice that a lot of students are absent in a class, that also kind of gets in those students' heads that are here and are like, maybe I'll miss on Thursday too because everybody else is missing a day. So that also negatively impacts the students who don't typically miss school, which I didn't think about, but it makes sense, and that's definitely concerning. As I mentioned, this has affected all communities, whether they are a wealthier community, whether they are a middle-class community, or they have a high number of students with free and reduced lunch. However, the reasons are different. So they gave the example, and this is all out of interviews. They interviewed lots of families. So a wealthier family may say, well, you know what, if I go to Hawaii during spring break, like flights are super expensive, hotel, but if I do it on a non-peak time, let's say in February or in April when it's not spring break, it's going to be cheaper, and everything's on Google Classroom anyway, so we're just gonna go for a week. You'll catch up, it's just a week. Whereas a community that has students that are on free and reduced lunch, those families' situation may be, your little sister is sick and I have to go to work, so you're just gonna have to stay home to watch your younger sibling because we cannot afford for me to miss work. And it's just one day, again, it's on Google Classroom, you'll be fine. So the reasons why parents are allowing kids to stay is different, but the idea that it's not a big deal is the same across communities. The other thing too is a lot of parents now have the option of working from home and have hybrid schedules. So, oh, you're not feeling good? Okay, just stay home, I'm home anyway. So that used to not really be an option. Parents were going to work pretty much every day. And so with more and more businesses allowing people to work from home, that has also impacted students being able to stay home. I think the other thing too, with students that struggle with mental health and how much we've been talking about it, not only in schools, but just like in our everyday life. You know, I know personally as a mom as well, if my kid is having a rough time, I'm like, you know what, take a mental health day. Like, I see you, I hear you, it's gonna be okay. Like, the number of parents that were having those conversations with their kids was less, and now that's happening a lot. And a lot of kids are requesting mental health days, and parents are like, of course, take your mental health day. Also, teachers are doing that. The absentee rate for teachers staying home is higher now than it used to be before COVID, and that also impacts students. Like, oh, my teacher's not gonna be here anyway, or my teacher misses every now and then anyway, so I can also miss. Which is positive in some ways in the sense of like, be aware of your mental health, take care of yourself. Obviously that's positive, but it's also then impacting our students in this negative way. students who have a lot of anxiety are in fight or flight. So we are not only seeing flight where they're not coming to school and they're just avoiding it, we're also seeing students in that fight mode, where students are having outbursts in the classrooms, in the hallways. Like those numbers have also heightened. So those two things combined, we have students that are in the building but are not actually going to class. So they're chronic, but they're chronically absent, but I see them every day. So that's also something that is common across the country. One thing that research shows is that when students have good relationships with their teachers, they want to be here. They're going to be successful. But if they're not here, they can't build a relationship. So how do we do that? So this article talked a lot about different districts that are doing home visits and how positive that is. Mr. Tuttle later will talk about how Student Services has been doing some home visits and how we also have seen the benefit here in our building from home visits. So that was an idea that they shared. Even some of the parents in here said that having the school come to their home was not only impactful for their students, but it was personally impactful for them as a parent. Like, okay, I need to get it together. Like, is there some type of mental health that I personally need as a parent? Do I need to reevaluate what's going on in my home? So the home visits really impact not just our students, but our community as a whole. Let's see. They talked a lot about basic needs, like students that like don't have supplies, don't have food, you don't have a coat, you don't have shoes. And that's certainly something that has always been on our radar here in this district, specifically the last 2 years. Not only the grant funding that we received that we put towards the students, but also community partnerships with like We Go Together for Kids. Like they have donated a ton of not only actual things, but funds so that we can buy the students shoes, clothing, coats, things like that. So that's been really helpful. I think what can be tricky is finding the right recipe for each kid, because there's not just one thing that we can do and it's going to magically bring all the kids here. Every kid needs something a little different. So how do we find that right recipe for each kid? Another idea that came out of this that Dr. Dwyer had talked about implementing next year is currently, and it's been going on for several years, parents will get a text message if your student missed a class period. Well, sometimes that can become white noise because we get a ton of like ads or whatever on your text message. There's that. The other thing too is like students are telling their parent like, no, I was in school. I just was with my social worker and she must have forgot to change my attendance or whatever. And so then it's so much work for the parent to like go back on Power School, double check, or email the social worker. So one thing we talked about is sending like an actual postcard paper that's says this is how many days of school your child has missed at this point, and here is the average number of days that let's say it's a sophomore student. The average sophomore at West Chicago has missed 7 days. Your child has missed 15. And that having an actual concrete paper is maybe a good like wake up call so that it doesn't become this white noise with the text message or the voicemails. So I am going to give everyone a chance to ask questions and give feedback because we certainly want to hear it. But I did want Ms. Hurtado to share what we've been doing in student services since last year. And then after that, if anyone has any comments, questions, suggestions, things like that, we'd love to hear it.
Okay. So we had talked, I think last year, at the end of last year, we talked about some of the interventions we're doing with like student services, so counselors, social workers, and the dean's office. So we're still kind of doing a lot of that, and I think we're at a point where we're kind of like in a really good rhythm of knowing like who's doing what, the roles of everybody on the team. And so the things that we're doing is parent meetings, student meetings, home visits, referrals to the ROE, if like that's kind of like the last resort that we turn to. But these interventions are happening at different levels. So we might have like, let's say a counselor call a parent, and then that parent's like, okay, I'm gonna come in. So it's like a one-on-one meeting. And then they come up with a plan, and they're like, you know what, there's more to this story. How about we meet again in like 2 weeks and I bring the whole team together? So that's like another level of intervention, right? Or I may have a parent who just walks in and is like, hey, I've gotten all these phone calls. And as I'm having this conversation with them, I'm like, wait a minute, this is a little bit more mental health. Let me bring in our social worker, or let me give you let me connect you with the counselor, just to get more people on this kid's team, right? So that because it's like how we were saying earlier, that each kid is so different. And there's so many different reasons why they're missing school, that you almost need all of these different perspectives so that you can have somebody who's like, okay, I can help you with this part, and I can help you with this other part. And you're just kind of giving them like this well-rounded support and bringing the parents into it. And I would say that the home visits are probably the ones that we see the most, either like the one on the bringing the parents into the building for meetings or going to the house, I would say is one of the most like successful things that we have. Because you have that chance to like show like, hey, we really care about your student, and we're here to listen to what's going on with you. Especially like I think when we go to the homes, they're like, okay, you're taking time out of your day to come to my home and find out what's actually going on with my son or daughter, and then they can't really avoid that conversation. They have to come out and face us. Like we've had situations where students they like stay in the room and they don't want to come out, but then they show up to school later, they're like, you came to my house? Why'd you come to my house? And then that gives us that chance to have that conversation. I would say our most recent attendance night, where we stay after and we kind of call parents in the evening, because that's like usually the best time to reach them. We did have a teacher reach out right after that and say, hey, it's been a while since I've seen some of these kids in school. After you guys made all these phone calls and connected with these families, I saw all these different kids show up that I hadn't seen all semester. And he like sent out an email to like all student services and said, thank you for doing this, because these are kids that I thought weren't going to make it. And now I'm having kids who haven't shown up and are actually like, wait, I still have a chance. And then being able to like connect with students and telling them, because like I think that the challenge is we have kids who are like, come into school, I know you're not motivated, I know you've missed a ton of the semester, and they're like, well, how am I going to get caught up? And then they show up to school and they're like overwhelmed by the amount of work that they have to do to pass the semester. So then it's trying to get that like support of, you can come into school, get into the habit of attending school, and then connecting them with the teacher support and saying, here, your teacher is here and available to help you learn those student skills again. So I feel like that's like another big piece, is the teacher support too, right? And like making sure that we're communicating with teachers and saying, hey, like this student is now trying to come back to school. They're trying to get into the habit of being in school. Give them a chance to kind of just get used to being in the classroom instead of like feeling overwhelmed by the amount of work that they have to do. So I think like teachers do play a big role in this too. And so like when I think about like how the interventions that we have in student services in the dean's office, it might be a good idea for future to like loop in other people, and like how else can we involve teachers in the mix of it and in these interventions, because I know it's hard for a teacher too to have a student show up in the middle of the semester like, you haven't been here all this time, how do I get you all caught up so that you can pass the class? And then I think the other big part for us that I've noticed personally is I feel like because we are in this groove of knowing our interventions and working together so well, that we're able to pick up on the kids who miss like maybe 5 times or 5 to 10 times, right? They're not chronically truant. We're recognizing them a little bit sooner, and we're handling those situations faster. So it gives us a little bit more space to then work with the students who are a little bit more chronic and the ones that are not showing up at all, because I think they definitely need a little bit more of our support. So I would say like, for the future strategies, that would be something that I would want to focus on more, is how do we use our data, how do we collect like the information so that we can intervene sooner for the chronically truant students, because now if we're already handling the students that are attending, maybe like that they have less attendance issues, that we can really focus on those high needs students. So that would be kind of what I would want us to focus on in the future. And so this would be a good time for some feedback on all that we've kind of given so far.
Comments, questions?
So I have an idea. just thinking about all these things and kind of piggybacking off of that You Are That Wildcat video, that was so impactful. But thinking about how that was teachers identifying students that made an impact on them. What if you guys kind of interviewed or called students down when they are here and asked them to identify who is an adult in this building that is a trusted adult for you? Because I would think that every student probably could name at least one adult in the building that they have a relationship with or have connected with. And then maybe as a school, you could then go to those teachers and say, hey, these students have identified you as a trusted adult. Are you willing to reach out to that student and say, we really miss you at school? And then that might bridge that gap of that connection of the students already identified them. They're then reaching back out to that student. Maybe that would be a way, like you were saying, to get the teachers more involved in bringing the kids back on board.
I think some of our seniors maybe want to weigh in on that.
You are like a great mind reader, or like, because lucky for you, Pet Club is doing the same thing. And so, me being one of them, I've written like a little note. And the plan is to write the note, very heartfelt, very vulnerable, you know, emotional. And the point is to, you know, express those feelings to like the trusted adult, either faculty, I don't know, whoever you feel connected with this building. And I think, I lost my train of thought, hold on. And so the students are doing that to recognize, you know, because it is not like easy to really find a trusted adult in this building, but when you do, it's like a little nest. Like you can face a problem and you can go up to them and you can be as open and vulnerable, like in the appropriate manner as well. But like you could reach out to them in a way that makes you feel comfortable, safe, and just overall have a better school experience. And so Pep Club recognized that, and they're gonna film a video as well and present it on, I don't know when, but the project is coming up soon. Let's just say that. Yeah, but that was just like Pep Club members. Like I like what you were saying about that some students like tell people like who their trusted adult is, and then they email the trusted adult. Because like that's just Pep Club people doing the teacher thing,
Right.
and like they're doing it for a video, so that could expand like outward into more students too. We also have like the Teacher Appreciation Week, which I just reminded like my have like on Thanksgiving, they're like, oh, say thanks to this teacher and why you're thankful, and so they hand those out.
So we do survey the students in Den towards the beginning of the school year and ask the students to identify who their trusted adult is in the building. And then Ms. Howard emailed all of the teachers that survey results so that everyone knows you've been identified as a trusted adult. But now I'm thinking maybe it would be good to do it second semester too, like as the students, you know, change and evolve and get to know different staff members. They may have connected with that staff member early on in the year or last school year, but maybe now they have a closer relationship with somebody else. And then following it up with some type of a video so that it's more public, so that other students can see like this is common and that my peers have trusted adults, and what those trusted adults can do for students. So I like that component.
I like that idea, sorry.
No, go for it.
I like that idea, and I'd like to add to that, maybe making sure we have a good, diverse group of students. I feel like a lot of the students that present in these videos on like the Friday Fun Day videos are, I don't want to sound wrong when I say this, but of a certain caliber, maybe the ones who are usually involved in things at school. I think for this to hit the clientele we want it to hit, we need to get that message from other students. Maybe reach out to kids who are in core lab or who are in I don't know, SRC, or who are, you know, go into Den classes. And I mean, look at the kids who are struggling but are working towards improving with the help of staff here at the building, like that we know are working towards improvement and hit those kids, so it's a little bit more impactful.
Mrs. Duzin, are you saying too to maybe leverage those trusted adults to match them back up with the kids who are showing either the earlier chronic signs of absenteeism, and
Right.
maybe they come along for a home visit or a phone call, or when we get the kid in one day, maybe they get to spend some time with them?
And I think that's why I really like that this is being brought up, because I think that a lot of like the research for attendance and how to improve, a lot of it is, well, building a strong relationship with kids and creating a sense of community in the classroom. So if we can have these connections with them, we are kind of working towards that goal.
I want to take the opportunity to say that I really want to thank everybody for the presentation, because I feel that to date, at least since I've sat on this committee, it's been the most thorough presentation that I've seen and that I've heard. So thank you so much for taking the time to do that. Also, I want to say that I think in the past we've asked for, and now I feel like it's even more, I'd like to know a little bit more in the interventions that have already been conducted, is possibly looking at maybe like the heavier hitting, or even across the board, like what are we seeing for our kids specifically as like barriers that they face. I know that yesterday during the presentation that we had at our board meeting, there was a student report that also kind of spoke to maybe like some disconnect with students showing up for different activities, or kind of like a lower percentage of students showing up for activities here at the school. So maybe that could also possibly be something that we tap into. I'd love to see like maybe another slide be this, and maybe the next time we meet, so that we can maybe implement some of the great ideas that have already been shared today, but possibly we could look a little bit deeper in the actual data to see like where are opportunities for support, what maybe has been working, and what are the barriers that students that are in that margin like really facing.
I think you brought this up before, and we started looking at our intervention logs, and the way that we code intervention logs right now made it so hard to collectively get solid data. So Ms. Hurtado and I actually had been talking about maybe looking at our system right now and coming up with different codes so that we can pull that data. Because the way that we were able to get some of the data was individually printing out students' intervention logs and then kind of going through each individual student. And it's super time consuming, but I think if we can begin to code it better, we can actually start to gather some real data of what's happening in our building, what's making an impact in our building. And along with that coding, I have received some feedback from teachers that are like, well, if a dean puts an intervention in, so I'm not a dean, but oftentimes students come across my desk for whatever reason, whether it's as from the dean's office or from my EL role, and I do interventions. I meet with kids, I call parents, and when I log it, a teacher cannot see what I logged because it's considered confidential information. So if we can look at some of our coding and making sure that we're still respecting students' confidentiality and privacy, but also coding it so that we're able to gather some data and so that teachers really understand the extent of what's been done so they know where they can fit in, I think will go a long way too. The other thing that I struggle with too sometimes with this is like the fine line between, obviously we want to help kids. That's like why we're here. And we've changed a lot of how we do school. We have more counselors, more social workers. Kids have access to their counselors and social workers. Kids are identifying when they're struggling emotionally or mentally. And I sometimes worry because I'm like, it's starting to feel like we are like a mental health facility at times down in student services, and that we're not looking at the academics. We're like, just get here. And I sometimes worry about that fine line of, this is a school, what is our capacity as a school? Some of these students really need a higher level of mental health support than we can provide for them. So how do we identify those students quickly and talk to those parents and encourage them to take their children to some type of a mental health facility to really give them some deeper intervention that their child may need, and then transition them back in here so that we can help them. So that is also a little bit of a struggle that I have, not only as a school, but, you know, I have kids as well and that have their own struggles. And that's always a balance too. Like, am I asking the school to do so much? Do I need to take my child somewhere else? So I just wondered if maybe any of the parents have any feedback on that. Or even the teachers.
Well, I think it's a good idea to point it out to the.
Where's that?
On the DuPage County Government Campus, they opened up a brand new, beautiful. Much more than that. I just know they had a ribbon cutting, and it's supposed to be a wonderful mental health option.
Do you know about it?
A health center at the, it's at the county offices, and it's right next to the DuPage Health Department.
Yes.
And it is a newer facility, and it is amazing because they have opened up so many services for supports. What really is really nice that maybe I think district would benefit from meeting, and it's the behavioral health, and there's just amazing connection. I think it's over like 70 partners that specific with mental health and crisis support, and offer just, they are a wealth of information in any. Like connection when students are cited or when they get disciplinary actions, and then you can connect them. Or whether they're admitted or even just an extra layer of support.
We partner with quite a few mental health organizations in DuPage, so this sounds like it'd be a really good one to add into that group. Okay.
Stephen Kaufman.
I would agree with what you were saying about schools kind of feeling like, you know, they're everything. My husband and I are both teachers, and it's starting to feel like every kid has their own special, like almost IEP, and it's like, well, don't forget, you know, Penny needs a break every 5 minutes, and don't forget that Christina needs to like play with a fidget all day, and don't forget that Samantha has to make sure don't tell her not to do, you know, she needs a lot of time to get all her stuff done, and the teacher is sitting there with, you know, 30 kids in front of them or 25 kids, but let's say over the day 100 kids, and they're trying to remember what every single kid needs, because it's like they all have the needs, and it's a lot. So how do we get these kids to even be more kind of resilient enough to like go out into the real world and have to function, you know, and not need days off all the time? Like the teachers I work with, we have new teachers, they're using up all their days, and we're like, you got to come to work, you know? And so I do think there's a problem, but I also understand that people are starting to pay more attention to their own mental health. So it's tricky, but I know as an educator, it's getting really complicated to remember what every single student needs in order to be successful. So I don't know if you're seeing that in the high school level, but at the elementary and middle school level, we're definitely seeing that.
Yeah, and some of the studies that Ms. Winton cited, some of the chronic absenteeism and mental health conditions really are become larger as the kids get older at that high school level. I think it's an inflection point for the profession. Like most professions in this post-pandemic world, things are going to be very different. And conversations like this one are really the best way to think about what have been our old conventions and what maybe are some of our new practices. One new practice I do want to throw out, it's going to be wildly unpopular, so I want to make sure I'm the one who owns it. Ms. Winter and I have been talking, and we currently have, there are very few deterrents, really, than what there was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, certainly when I was in high school when it comes to attendance. And that makes sense because you don't want to suspend a kid for not coming to school because then they're not in school. That doesn't make any sense. But I do want to think more about incentivizing. And one way, as we look at it, there are things like homecoming and prom and other really fun extracurriculars. And we have some thresholds in place where, hey, if you have this many tardies, no on the prom or no on this. We are looking very seriously at lowering those thresholds and applying them to more things like homecoming. So if we have, say, 50 school days before homecoming happens, hey, you got to be here for 40 or more of those days for us to let you buy a ticket. I'm throwing a random number out. We would look more in depth at it. But I want to hear from parents. I also want to hear from kids on that one and where your heads would be at that. Again, wildly unpopular.
I think it's a great idea.
I love it too. I'm all for it.
Yeah. I like it.
Kids?
I mean, I attend school, so I'm not really against it.
Okay.
Fair.
I do believe in like giving an incentive, but like sometimes you have to be real with them and be like, you know, this is high school. This is the point where you should really learn how to be a grown up. And so if we go down that path, I feel like it's like a 50-50 either. Yes, like they do attend, or like 50, or like no, they won't attend. I feel like if at some point it's gonna get to a point where we kind of baby our students. So I feel like if we promote, facing our challenges and being more upfront, I think that could really help with our progress and really say like, you know what, you do this, and this to just even like go to school. We can incentivize you for that and, reward them or recognize them that, waking up like at 6 a.m. is hard. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. And so I think maybe recognizing them for the effort would be better. And I don't know, I feel like what your idea could potentially be good, but I just fear that babying a little too much could be a problem.
Balance, right? Okay.
The other thing too is that we've always had a tardy rule. Like if you have 15 tardies, you can't go to homecoming and prom. So then the kids are like, oh shoot, I'm running late. I'm just not going to go to school. So that also is not okay.
Well, and the only other comment I wanted to make is that I feel like, it's a challenge because you guys could be doing everything you need to do and making the appropriate identification for students who maybe need deeper interventions that the school can't provide, but the access to those services just doesn't exist. You hear from parents who are trying to get those services and it's 6 months out before they can even get in to see anybody. So, I mean, if anything, like, know that you're doing a really good job and that some of that is just out of, even out of your control, even with the best intentions, because it's a real shortage, nationwide, I think, not just in the schools, but outside of the schools as well.
Miss Winton is too humble to take it, but I am always reminding her in the dean's office, while our data might not be where we want it to be, I do look, I don't like to compare us to other schools generally, but I do look around and realize, hey, perhaps we have not regressed as far as others have because of the good things that we're doing, and the tide will reverse eventually. But it is a nationwide problem. So you guys are doing really good things. We're ready to move on to our sixth agenda item, cell phones and bathroom passes. This is unpopular too, but Mr. Tato, I'm going to let you take this one.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, so one of the things we've noticed is with bathroom passes, kids tend to maybe take longer than 5 minutes, or these bathroom passes disappear. So something that some teachers have actually been trying is asking students to leave their cell phone in exchange for the bathroom pass. And it's been working really well because, one, it gets kids to go to do what they need to do real quick and come back to their phone. And it also ensures that we're getting the bathroom passes back and they don't go missing, right? So we're thinking about maybe rolling this out next year, where then it is a practice that across the school, anybody who wants to use the bathroom does have to give their phone in exchange for the bathroom pass. Any thoughts on that?
How would that work for the teachers who don't allow phones in their classrooms, like myself?
Well, like they have them, do you have a place that they go?
I take the students, put their phones in a bin at the beginning of every period. The bins go on a back counter in the back of the room every day from the first day of school to the last day of school. Every day, that's what happens, unless, we're doing an activity where they need their phones. And so in my class, I've gone through more than 4 bathroom passes this year, so I've resorted to one that I had pre the blue ones on the lanyards. That one's been holding strong. It's fallen apart, but it's still there. No one's taken it. I just have the one now, and if it's gone, it's gone. When kids take a long time in the bathroom and they come back, we have a talk, and I give them just a few more chances, and then after that, I say, sorry, go before or after my class, but you've lost your chance. Sorry, parents, if that seems harsh. I know I'm not one to keep anybody from, doing their business, but at that point, they're not doing their business for 30 minutes. And
I would have them grab the phone out of that basket to give it to you, and then give them the bathroom pass. And then you can have your phone back when you give me the bathroom pass.
Is the bathroom pass so that if they're out in the school, somebody else recognizes that they have permission to be out in the school? What if you got those like magnets, like the badge magnets that, like you clip to their clothes, it says bathroom, and they wear that, then they don't have to carry anything. Everybody could put it somewhere on the hem of their thing, whatever.
And it's on a lanyard, yeah.
It's on a lanyard,
So-
but I'm just thinking, but you could take that lanyard off because it gets in your way maybe while you're in the bathroom. But if you had one of those like ID magnets, clip it on, then you take it off and give it back.
And I would say that they're missing more because kids may be wanting to keep them so that they can walk around at other points in the day and have like, I got a pass, So I think that's the one of the bigger things. Not necessarily that like kids are like forgetting them, because like that would be easy. If you forget in the bathroom, you just kind of send them back, like go get your pass.
Could you make color-coded bathroom
have
passes?
that.
So all of first period are the same?
Like
Okay.
something bigger than like a small pass, like something.
I'm just thinking by
obvious.
period. Yeah.
Like a hubcap at the gas station?
Yeah.
Like you're walking around
Yep.
with.
I'm thinking by like period though, like first period passes are all blue, second period are purple, so that if somebody's walking around seventh period with a yellow pass and that's first period pass, that doesn't work anymore.
All the den passes would be missing. Whatever.
Got it.
But that's a good idea.
Yeah.
We have looked at doing it by floor. So first floor ones are these, second this. But maybe even looking at the end of each semester, re-inventory and then reissue to see if we're missing anything. And maybe switching colors that semester as well.
I think that's a great idea, both doing it by period, although I feel like logistically that might be difficult with all the, changes. I also like the idea of doing it by floor. I think if we're gonna do that, we need to maybe use something a little different, because our current bathroom passes with the different colored lanyards, I know the idea was different departments had different colors, and so that would identify a student who should be in social studies, but they're down in the math hallway where they shouldn't be. I feel like that's a little bit easier to hide because the lanyards are really thin. And so, especially with the bathroom passes, the kids are usually putting them in their pockets to go to the bathroom, and they're wrapping up the lanyard in their hand and they just show the blue part. Well, but all the passes are the same if all they're showing is the blue part. So I love those ideas, but I think we need to maybe change the passes that we're using and make it more obvious, where they're supposed to be or when they're supposed to be used, I guess, when and where.
Different shapes, like something.
Back to the
I
cell
like that
phone idea, is that still on the table? Because I think that, other than I don't know if it has to be either or, but I do think that is a quick way to get them back from
It
the
would be both.
bathroom.
I'm
It'd be
thinking
both
both, like,
things.
so the passes idea is good to Easy identify, easy to see, and then also turning in your phone as a deterrent to go quick and come back. And also, if you want your phone back, you need to give the pass back. So I would want to do both, but we definitely need the parents to be on board with it, because there's a lot of students that will say, oh, I don't have my phone today. Oh, my mom took my phone. So then, okay, well, I'm gonna call your mom and see if that's true. So there has to be like some parent buy-in and parents on board with that in order for this to really work.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and then having like that consistency across the school could also be beneficial in making sure that kids are following it, because it's like, well, this is happening in all my classes, so they're just used to it.
Yeah, the only thing I could see potentially problematic is there are definitely teachers already who kids know, like, I cannot take my phone out in this class, it's not allowed. And then they're going to take their phone out because they got to go to the bathroom, and then there's an exchange of, why is your phone out? And it's like, oh, because I was going to ask to go to the bathroom. And, you know, so if you're in a class where you know you can't take your phone out anyway, but then you have to take your phone out to be able to go to the bathroom, that could be a problem.
We would want to begin this conversation with staff at the end of the school year we're at now, to let staff like Ms. Sladak, Ms. Nelson, who have really strong procedures, to begin thinking about how and in what ways do they incorporate that within their own professional judgment, which we absolutely trust.
Some of the driver's ed teachers do this, and they'll tell the kids like, okay, then give me something valuable, like put your AirPods in there, or put like your wallet, something, put something in there so that there's still an exchange. Here's the pass back. Okay, you get your goods back.
That's a real life, you know, you have to do that when you go to the roller rinks or like the skating rink. Like, you have to turn in your driver's license, you know, like, I don't know, that's a real thing. The exchange of, this is important to me, that's important to you, we shall trade, you know?
Students, you guys have any classes doing that right now or something similar?
I was gonna say my sociology teacher, Mrs. Haas, does that, and I'm not against like the phone or like the driver's license, but also like I know it's not like excuse for 30 minutes, but you guys like lock bathrooms a lot, so like that's kind of why you find people from social studies with like an orange lanyard in the math department, because there's like the English one's locked, the social studies one is locked, and that's why it's like a longer time taken in between before they get back. And why do you guys lock bathrooms too? I've never understood what causes them.
Make your life more difficult. No, Mr. Donovan can answer that.
There's different reasons. Sometimes it is just maintenance is happening. Something could have happened in the bathroom. Like, we are trying not to lock the bathrooms. We're really not out to get you guys, and we're trying to make sure that there's at least one bathroom accessible to everybody. So that is something that we talk about with security. There are times of the day that they are locked, just because, like in the morning, for example, right, when we're trying to make sure that students are not hanging out in the bathroom before school. So there are certain times it's locked, but throughout the day there should be, hopefully. And then also with kids who are missing for like 30 minutes, if it happens like one time, it's not a big deal. If it happens like every other day, that's where it becomes an issue. And I think that's more the students that we're targeting, the ones that are like consistently taking long bathroom breaks, or they're like, well, you know, walking around in the lunchroom when they're supposed to be in the bathroom, kind of thing.
Gia, did you have something to add to that?
I'd say maybe like an idea for like the bathroom passes, maybe like instead of that lanyard thing would be like a what are they called? Like, you could just clip it onto your shirt. Maybe not like a magnet or something like that. And then maybe them being like different colors like the lanyards were, maybe for the area or whatever you guys want to make it. Because I've seen those lanyards like that we have now like everywhere all over the bathroom. It's kind of really gross. So that's my only suggestion. Just keep it on.
We talked about putting something plastic so the teachers can like Lysol spray them down afterwards. Yeah, some of them are pretty grimy.
Go on, Jane.
Something that I would like to add is I think it's a good idea, the whole trading the cell phone for a pass. I think it's not a bad idea. But something that does concern me is it like safe in a way? Because, you know, God forbid something bad happens while you're in the restroom, like, you know, an intruder can come in, or, you know, someone like fainted in the restroom, and the first thing you're going to think is, oh, I got to call ambulance, or like I said, an intruder comes in and you don't have your phone, you're basically like, there's nothing you could do. And I do think it's a good idea, but I feel like it wouldn't be super safe for like. if
I did
anything
think
bad.
about that, like
Yeah.
for my own kids, I was
Yeah.
thinking about that because that's the times that we live in. But we do have Blue Point all over the building. So if there was some type of like an urgent emergency, they are all over the place and you could pull it. Obviously, that doesn't allow you to communicate with somebody personally, like to call your mom or to call whatever, but pulling that is going to call 911 immediately. So that would kind of help that concern.
If we're an intruder, but you also brought up a good one, Jaden, about if there was a medical emergency. One of the things, if we do need an ambulance, communicating it by radio from security or administration to Officer Lovato, and he calls it in, is significantly quicker than if a student within the building were to call 911. Odds are they would actually probably call us to verify that that's real before they would send somebody. But yeah, you are. It took us more than this conversation before we started thinking of those. So good job to figure that out so quickly. Yeah. Okay, Ms. Nelson, please.
I can just throw in, as a teacher who has tried this new strategy, it has been really helpful. I have found that bathroom breaks are not only much faster for my students, but they're asking to go to the bathroom less frequently because it's not like a social break. It's, you go and you need to go and then you get back to class. So I found it really helpful, and I have yet to have a student in any of my classes, and I work with a lot of different students in our school, and I've yet to have a student not want to hand their phone over for the bathroom pass. It's never, it hasn't been an issue. So it's been helpful.
Hear a lot of support for this and a lot of neutral body language from our students, which tells me that we might be on the right track. But this would be something that we would look to refine a little more the rest of this year and then communicate with our families over the summer ahead of the start of the school year. Great. Thank you so much. Moving on, I think we are on to our future topics section. Nope. Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Winton, go for that. Thank you so much. I skipped right over that. Go for it.
So some of you, this is your first year with us, and some of you have been in this group for longer than this year. And so one thing that I told Dr. Dwyer that I sense from some of the parents is and even the teachers, your desire to do some more outreach with this group and to do something that is visible that you can see, because while I value this, and obviously Dr. Dwyer values this time that we have and the feedback that you give us, it's like kind of our secret, and not too many people really know the time that you guys are giving up and how vital and important this is. So I have sensed that there's some of you that really want to do something outreach wise and something to be more visible. So I kind of wanted to open this up. Last time we met, Ms. Hurtado had suggested doing like a parent needs assessment to see like what parents need, and some of the parents in this group were like, I think that would be great. We'd like to promote that. So another thing that I had thought was to doing that, maybe either open house or parent-teacher conferences, kind of having you guys have a table to talk to parents, to hear from parents, whether it's to fill out a survey or literally just to have some conversation with them. At the beginning of this school year, we had the hot Cheeto guy come in, and beforehand we had the community resource fair, and it was really successful. We had so many community partners here, so I even thought maybe this group could help organize that again this year to have some type of a community resource fair, and then this group could have their own table there to interact with families and parents. So I wanted to see, what are your thoughts on doing that? We can have like a table where it's parents, and then we can also have students have their own table to try and hear from other students, see what other students, and also just a way for you as students to identify yourselves as leaders in the building. Like, I'm here to hear what you think, and I will go tell Dr. Dwyer, or I'll go tell, Miss Winton, whatever it is that we're thinking and how we're feeling about certain things. So yeah, thoughts, suggestions?
Just a question, do we have like a general so-and-so complaint box, or
It's my email. It's our email. We don't, but
We do have an anonymous tip line if there were something truly hazardous, dangerous that needed to be reported. And doing so anonymously would encourage that. That does absolutely exist. But you can also email us anytime. I see you every morning. You could just tell me.
Concern for the parents maybe, because like sometimes like maybe just saying what they think in the moment is easier than just going out and like emailing, typing, send, waiting. So I say just like have a complaint box, and then I don't know, maybe have like a general assembly.
I think that's okay. I think that's a great idea. I would push it a little bit further and say at the beginning of the year would be amazing, and some capacity of that resource center. I thought that was amazing, and the amount of people that came. Obviously, you know, they incentive, but I still think that we would be able to get a pretty good group to come on that. Also, I would definitely. I love the idea of doing it second semester at spring parent-teacher conferences, because I feel so much happening, and then you know the holidays are over and the beginning of the year, and I feel like it's nice to have that connection before the end of the year. So I think those two times of year would be really well received.
Just so everyone knows, we had our highest attendance at spring parent-teacher conferences since 2016. And someone had to remind me that that was the year the science wing was renovated and everyone wanted to come see it. And so I realized, like, oh, well, that was a nice bump in attendance. Yeah.
So I have a question for the students. How many of your friends know that you're here and what you do here?
Where? Here?
Of
Like at the
your
committee?
friends, yeah, like the people
I was just
you
asking.
hang out with regularly, the people you're on Snapchat or Instagram or whatever, however you socially communicate. How many of your friends know that you're here and what you do here?
Very few. I mean, like, I don't really talk to, like, I wouldn't really say, like, oh, like,
I told them hop on the live.
I'm on a meeting right now, and they'd be like,
Yeah.
what? Like, meeting with who?
So I think with this in mind, maybe we set up this student table, maybe not even at a community event, I mean, definitely at a community event, but in addition to that, during the school day, like in the commons, set up a nice table, big banners and balloons, and give out cookies or whatever, stickers, whatever, I don't know, whatever people want, right? Like raffles, have like some games going, or just something that will attract students during the day to let them know that you are a part of this committee and what your role is here. And that they can come to you as your fellow students if they have any concerns as well.
I feel like that's a good idea. Also, with what you said about having, like, students come up to us about anything that they are, like, concerned with. Because I feel like students are more likely to come talk to one of their peers rather than going to one of the teachers. Because, I don't know, like, they may find one trustworthy teacher, but it's always in the back of the head of, like, are you really going to bring this forward to, like, someone with, like, administration? I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, or maybe like somehow make it known of the students like that come here, like letting the other students know which students like represent them at like places like this, because like I don't really have like all the opinions of every student, so like, and I don't really have like much to say, so if people like knew that I could like inform like administrative, like I feel like people would tell me more about what they want then.
Great idea. Thank you, Ms. Sladek.
And I'm open to whatever sort of community outreach, the table, the whatever. Go to.
So at the beginning of the year, we have open house, which is like right away, and then we have parent-teacher conferences. Which one of those 2 nights would be better to kick this off?
I think open house is a little easier just because, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody here, but I know I like to be engaged in parent-teacher conferences, so it's hard to be able to do both on the same night. Although Dr. Dwyer knows I was here recruiting everyone that possibly walked by me to fill out the Five Essential survey.
You did a great job.
And I have no shame in saying, hey, you, come over here, talk to me. But I think it would be easier at open house, probably.
This is only my second meeting, I'm willing to participate if needed, so.
I think it would be good to really be more forward and public facing about this group and what this group can do.
One.
Oh, a PR? I thought you said APR. I'm like, I'm not really sure what that is.
Did you
Okay.
just volunteer yourself, Sebastian?
No, I'm just saying. I don't know. I feel like we should just be more loud about this group. At the same time, if you have all the bells and whistles, everybody's going to look at you. So being loud and being more open is just going to have all eyes on you.
Oh, we can definitely look at that. We have a great communications department we can work through. That's great. Good, Ms. Winton? Yeah. All right. So I want to talk future topics, but I also want to ask Ms. Sladek if you can just kind of provide for us a little follow-up on one of the items we talked about in October, some of the steps we took, but then maybe some of the future thoughts that we could also do as a group together.
So we discussed doing a collaboration with a local food bank, and in multiple ways. One way would be having kind of a second storage for the local food bank here at the school, using our facilities, our freezers, our refrigerators. And the other was using the school as a resource to have periodic pickups, food pickups for families at the school who are in need. And I met with one of the coordinators at the food bank. I got a tour of the food bank. We discussed a lot of options, a lot of possibilities. We had a proposal written out, and then it was put on hold. Unfortunately, they had some concerns about the logistics of it from the director level at the food bank, and that hold is still on. We haven't been able to get it to push forward yet. But with that in mind, we were considering possibly doing something just amongst ourselves, and having the school create this event for our community, for our families, and possibly even collaborating with Quest, our food service company, and allowing them to put in for a charitable donation for themselves, and also help us help our families. So that's something we are thinking about and hopefully can work towards for maybe even next year.
So hoping that if that is something we are able to organize and get some support behind, if this group would be willing to contribute and help out with that, 3 to maybe 4 times a year food pickup opportunity that families could have here at the school. Okay. Fantastic, good. Last but not least, though not last, but I do want to just put out, we have a very special guest here tonight. I have currently in the last week seen Dr. Johansson more than I've seen my wife. So it's actually best for everybody. He's been, as you guys all know, our superintendent incoming, has been at so many things, had so many opportunities to meet different people, but really wanted him to have an opportunity to meet this group, see our process, see some of the things that we're working on in the level of conversation, and also get a chance just to talk about himself and brag a little bit about how much he's already been here at WeGo in the last handful of months.
I appreciate the allowing me to be a part of it. Something that we don't have in my current district, so it's very intriguing. And I listened to some of the talking points on attendance and cell phones, not to minimize what's happening here, but to Dr. Dwyer's point, it is literally happening everywhere, right? These issues are the same issue talked about in the several different schools and districts I've been in. What I can tell you is some of the things that I've heard today are really impressive. I mean, you're not just throwing your hands up and say, oh, we can't do anything, oh, woe is me. Like, no matter where you're at, you're constantly trying to figure out new and innovative ways. So it's so exciting for me to be able to walk into something like this. So I want to just commend you on what you've been able to accomplish so far. A little bit about me. I actually started off as a special education teacher years ago. Did that for a couple different schools. I was at East Leiden, I was at DeKalb, I was at Ridgewood. So South Elgin High School as the principal there. I've been there for 4 years. And to have this level of support to meet and to have a committee that's able to so it's important that we hear your voice and we understand what you need so we can alter and adjust and pivot to meet your needs and to have opportunity to continue to expand. My mind races as I hear things, and I start thinking about incorporating more of a student voice and having use this as the main committee and have subcommittees that branch off to really expand and to get put in to get a true representation of students, a true representation to come in under this umbrella to help drive our vision and to make meaningful change is exciting. Foundation is here, and everybody's so willing. Allow me to crash the party tonight. I look forward to
Your party.
I look forward to many more to come. So, you guys have any questions for me? Ask a couple questions of you then, since they were quiet. So, what do you love about this place?
I'll go first. This is my child has been here for 3 years, and he loves it so much. High school teacher when he grows up because of going here, and he's just had the best experience, and we're really excited. He's in band, he's in tennis, so he's kind of gotten involved in things, and he just earned. It's as monolingual parents, and I have bilingual children because of the elementary and middle school district, but then also here.
I would say the same about the teachers. I have my fourth, and I always go to parent-teacher conferences, and I have found the teachers just to be very genuine and caring.
So I've had, I have this transition plan, right, that I'll share with, it'll be public once I take over in July, but I was going through my transition plan just before I came here, and I've met with 52 individual people. And I've about 14 different groups of people, a lot of other things along the side, but in those 52 people, in those conversations I've had, the one thing that stays consistent is the sense of family and community and the impact that the teachers for the profession and everybody that works here and goes to school here. And I can tell you that I've found that in pockets and other places, but I've never, in my 23 years, it's truly remarkable. So when you say that, I could almost predict what you were going to say because I'm like, oh, I've heard this for the last 3 months, right? I've heard the same thing over and over again, and I'm like, what else is there? I mean, it's a testament to what's going on here. It's exciting.
I think Samantha was gonna say something.
Well, I can say that for me and along with my friends that we just like being here because there's so many like different clubs, there's so many sports, and like with like the new sports that are like going like girls wrestling, like there was like so much outreach for like new girls to like join, and like it built like such a like a strong and like bigger team than it was last year. And also with new clubs, like they're always on the students' announcements, and you're always like seeing like a couple new people just being like added on each month.
I feel like it's definitely like the reason why I like it here is like the teachers like that reach out from like other than academics, like the pep club leader, Mrs. Mastrioni, and then like Mrs. Fireman running the Chronicle. I feel like that helps like student life a lot because it shows like what students do here. And then like me personally, like the like entire staff here like helped me through like a hard time because my brother, he got like hospitalized, and like everyone here worked together. Like Dr. Dwyer organized everyone, or maybe it was Mrs. Shanebeck. Like they all helped, and like all of his past teachers like contributed to giving us like dinners and stuff. So I just feel like the teacher and like student like help is just like what I like about this.
The sense of caring is very visible throughout, even when hiring teachers. I remember I was like the hiring process because like, you know, I just want to spark a conversation. And I recall that she explained that when she was in other interviews for other schools, they see her more as a number and more, I don't know, machine. But when she came here, she explained that they actually read the resume and they actually like pointed out like question, like one thing that she said about me was that they asked her was like, how under pressure, and she said, well, it's my first year teaching, like, I don't know. And then she just our gymnastics coach, right? Like, so how will you control that? I feel like she told me that that was like the first time she ever felt human or felt recognized that she's actually a person. And school does care. I mean, we're having interventions, teachers helping out family members, and I mean, it's in the name community high school. I feel like we really like enforce that and really bring that together, no matter like how someone like feels it. Like there's could be people who feels it on community, but there's people who are like more like a little bit detached, but they still have their little clique, their little group. And I just feel like it's easy to really find your people in this school, this environment, especially because high school is like the epitome of like stigma all around. So I really applaud this place for, you know, doing such staff, just anyone whoever's like steps inside like these doors.
Adding to that, I definitely agree with like everyone saying how like, and, like I feel like counselors at like every department, there's always like someone supportive. Like my athlete and like being in sports, I felt like I always had someone to talk to, and all of my teachers were always super motivational. And like the whole thing with like me and Brady having like the champion walk and stuff like that, like that's something like I know that me and Brady are always gonna remember, because you know it's something special that, you know, Dr. Dwyer, the band kids, the teachers take their time of the day to go outside of their classroom, and it just shows that like, you know, like these people are here for us, and you know it just shows that they're proud of us no matter where we ended, and it just makes me like, you know, I like.
Everybody's talking about the teachers, which is very nice, but I have to say, we have the best kids. This community is so strong. I'm a product of WeGo, and then came back to teach here, and have been just incredibly supported by my colleagues and our admin here. But we also just moved back in district so that my kids can come here, because I have found that, you know, the WeGo ties are strong, and the kids who come through here are just absolutely incredible. The families are incredible, and so it really is. It's a really we're small but we're mighty, and it's a really unique place. So
I like to say we're the best kept secret in DuPage County, because everywhere else in DuPage County, they think, you know, with their fancy school, and it's like, yeah, but you don't know. Yeah, we got it here. So, you know, you can tell people, but it's like until you're here and you feel it and you feel your kids so welcomed, you know. DuPage County. I have a couple things. One, I think that the diversity of this community is a huge strength. I did not have the benefit of growing up at all in my life in a diverse community, and so I'm super grateful that my kids are exposed to lots of different things than they would be potentially if we lived somewhere else. And you know, it sounds like we talk a lot about some of the challenges that brings, but it also brings a lot of strength and a lot of like living in the real world, because the real world is a diverse place, and I think that's great for our kids. And, you know, I'm an educator in Benjamin District 25, so my students feed here, and so I have a huge sense of pride in terms of
I'm telling parents all the time from pre-K through 8th grade who think, oh, we might move, and I'm like, no, don't, like, trust the process. I have a sophomore and a junior at the high school. It's an amazing place. So that's my first one. My second is that I so appreciate that this is a solutions-based institution, because problems exist. They're real. Kids have problems with teachers sometimes, kids have problems with each other, but nothing ever falls on deaf ears, and people work towards finding solutions. And I think that's obviously a lot of what we're doing here, but I've experienced that at all different levels here, and I think that you definitely always feel heard here, and that and it's not just a thanks for letting us know. So I definitely appreciate that.
What do you need from me? So let me just tell you some of the students. So I've got 3 kids. Right? I've got a sophomore, 8th grader, and 6th grader. So I told him that I got the job. He was like, Dad, what do you even do? So, like, what do you, like, what were you, so if you don't even know what a superintendent, I'm okay, but what would you need from me? What would you need from me as I transition into this job?
One of the things that we noticed is Dr. Dwyer, I don't know if you ever go home, but every time I'm here, I see you. So, like, I think being present, go to the football games, meet the parents, and, just walk around, be out front, say hello. I don't know where your office is. Is it here?
It's right there.
Oh, yeah. Well, so you could be in.
Yeah.
Yeah, get to know the kids, get to know their names.
Yeah, I would definitely second that. Like, when I play basketball, when I see, like, Dr. Dwyer's at my game or the athletic director's at my game, it's just, like it's a good feeling to have. Like, when you see people actually, like, they actually care about the athletics and stuff.
You could stand outside with Dr. Dwyer in the morning, too.
I got a coat for you.
Good.
Effort, like blood, sweat, and tears, I think.
Easy.
I need you to hear that. It's going to be easy. It's going to be easy.
Quiet, because you heard me for an hour yesterday, so that is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm kudos.
I also think our facilities are a huge strength. I mean, the transformation that this building has made over the past however many years. Beautiful. It's a beautiful school, and my older daughter had the opportunity of participating in the, I guess it was the DuPage County Leadership Institute, and all the high school students from the other schools apparently just kept commenting on, we don't do that at our school. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. You guys do the coolest things. And I work with other teachers who have high school students in other schools, and their kids were at that day too, and their kids went home to them and said, oh my gosh, Mom, you should hear all the stuff that they do at WeGo and how cool they're, and kids come here and they see how beautiful this school is, and even that they were saying, gosh, we played basketball at your school is really nice. And so, I mean, I think that little by little, the communities around, are starting to realize that this is a school that's a force to be reckoned. Just keep that positive momentum, I would say, we need from you to keep moving.
Well, the last two happy but a little sad things is one, parents, staff, this is our last meeting of the year, so thank you. Parents, you, just like last year, you get first dibs to be on this next year. I survey all of our parents to fill out an application to be on it, but if you've been on it this year, you get that survey a week early. And you will, of course, be welcoming back in the committee next year. Ms. Nelson and Ms. Sladek, I've already told you you're not allowed to quit this committee. I apologize. Samantha is a junior. You'll be back with us next year, but I really do want to thank our seniors. Jaden, Jack, Gia, Sebastian, you guys, not only have you been great on this committee, it's been really great watching you guys for 4 years, watching you win a state championship, play basketball games, you teaching me how to play volleyball, you giving a student board presentation. It's been fantastic. You guys have really, you've left a huge mark on the school. So thank you very, very much for everything you've done, guys.